Well, hey guys, we're live here at Mountain Fun Life Radio on Entertainment in the Smokies with Rhonda. We're so excited that you're watching. We are live. Go down there to the little share button. Click it, share it with your friends, make comments, like it, like our page, and I hope you all are going to like our guest today. We have an awesome guest today. Can't wait for you all to meet him. But first, I would like to tell you about our sponsor. We have Grant's Guardian is sponsoring the show today. Thank you all, Grant's Guardians, for sponsoring. It's an awesome place. They have crafts. They have everything is personally made by these people. Their paints, the creative stuff is awesome. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of that information for you. Back live here in the studio and excited as can be today. First of all, excited about life in general altogether. I was in a little accident earlier this week, and I praise God that everything is okay. But now let's talk about some wonderful stuff today. I have on my show with me, and I am honored to have Mr. Scott Bellinger. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hi, Rhonda. How are you?
Oh, I am fantastic. Thank you for coming on.
Sure.
Let me tell you all a little bit about Scott, a few things that right off the top, and then I'm going to let him tell you about Scott. Scott is my neighbor, first of all. He's been there, him and his wife and children has been there for me ever since we lived there. I mean, they took me in like family. They take care of me. There have been times in my life that I've had difficulties, and they've always been there for me. And, you know, I thank God for them. I believe that they're like my angels, basically, is the way I look at it. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Scott.
Pleasure to be here.
Would you tell the people out there, basically, where are you from, what's going on?
Well, I'm a born and bred East Tennessee boy. Have always lived here, born in Knoxville. And I guess about 17 years ago, we relocated back to what was actually home country for me in Strawberry Plains in Jefferson County. Married to my wife Lisa for 20. Oh, hope she's not mad. I can't remember. 27 years, I think. We've got three beautiful daughters: Abigail, Hannah, and Caroline. We've made a life and a home in East Tennessee all of our lives. Can't really imagine being anywhere else. I've been other places, but I can't imagine living anywhere but East Tennessee.
There was a phrase you said earlier when we was talking. You looked up at the mountains and you said something about that. What was that you said?
Well, in thinking about coming on the show, I had just thinking about the mountains. I've been a lot of different places. I've spent a lot of time in Germany, and I've seen Germany's mountains, which were spectacular. And I've been to Australia, and I've flown over the mountains in Oz, but I never have actually been to those mountains. But I've been to Germany and Australia and Guam and a lot of different places in my business travels. But I was always so relieved to come home. Generally, I came home in the dark, so I didn't actually get to see the mountains till the next day. But I was always so relieved to see my Smoky Mountains because I knew I was home.
Right.
And that's just that's been a touchstone for me in all of that. The places that I've been, the mountains let me know I'm home. They let me know I'm back, and I draw a lot of comfort from that.
Oh, yeah, I love that when you said that, because it started making me think, you know, like you said, you've traveled all over the world and you've seen all these other spectacular places, but you come here and you've seen it, and it's like an awe. Because there's no other mountains like Smoky Mountains.
No.
You know, Sevier County, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, up in this area, Cage Cove, all of this is like God's creation, and it's so beautiful. You cannot match this anywhere else.
Yeah.
Let's go back and talk about your traveling. Why was you traveling all over the world?
I went to work for a manufacturing plant in Knoxville, and we were absorbed by I guess I could say the name, the Robert Bosch Corporation. Bosch appliances, windshield wipers, spark plugs. They bought us, and as part of working out the arrangement, integrating our business into theirs. I got to take three trips to Germany. I've spent about 4 weeks in Germany. I made 2 trips to Australia. The first time I ever had been anywhere in my life. Flew commercially by myself to Melbourne, Australia. Started late in life. I was 30. I was in my 30s before I started to travel, and then I spent about 7 years on the road and working there in Germany and Mexico. Spent a lot of time in Mexico. Just absolutely beautiful places, great experiences, love the people, and they let me actually, for the past 7 years, I've worked mostly from home. Once the travel stopped, I worked mostly from home.
Now, isn't that a dream job? Working from home, traveling all over the world.
Yeah, it was an interesting ride. I would have to go to headquarters about twice a year, but the rest of the time I was on the phone, talking to people, talking to all kinds of people. For all intents and purposes, I felt like I'd been to India and I felt like I'd been to China because I spent a lot of time on the phone and teleconferences with those folks too. So just had a really, one of my Australian colleagues said I was probably the most well-traveled redneck in Straw Plains.
Yeah, y'all, we done come on out here and traveling, ain't we?
I said, well, I got a lot of stamps on my passport that I never dreamed I'd have, so...
And that's a great journey to have. Now, what did you actually do? I mean, what is your capabilities in your job? Well,
without getting too far into the weeds, because most people glaze over in about 15 seconds when they say things like SAP and authorizations and this sort of thing. For most of my consulting life, I was sort of an IT generalist. If you had a computer, a printer, a server, you wanted to put in a network, you needed stuff done, just. If it was computers, it was me, and so that's where I was. And then I got into this little niche in the automotive world for the last 7 years, where I was working with a business application called SAP. It's a big, powerful German-based business application, and Bosch uses it for everything. Every single function in their business is in SAP. So I had a little bitty tiny piece of that, making sure that 4,000 people had access to use the system the way that they needed to.
Wow. So now we've talked about the business side of Scott, and the reason I wanted to start with that is so people can see, this side of Scott. Now let's talk about your worship side. Your singing. I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic there. I know that. You sing in the choir at the church at Grace Baptist.
Grace Baptist in Knoxville.
And I've been there and actually heard you sing, and I've heard you sing several times. Tell us a little bit about how you got into that.
I've been singing in church since I was 5 years old, and I can't remember. I think it was probably this little light of mine at Galen Heights Baptist Church in Vacation Bible School in South Knoxville about 1,000 years ago. But I've always had an affinity for music, all kinds of music. A lot of classics. It's actually spent a good number of years running sound and being the lead roadie for a local contemporary Christian band.
Wow.
And got a lot of good experience there. Excuse me. And but always liked singing, and I got into some larger churches with choirs, and that just added a whole new dimension to it. For several years, I was the worship leader / minister of music at a small non-denominational church in West Knoxville, and then we actually have family at Grace Baptist Church. My brother-in-law Jeff Davis is the associate worship minister there. And so he was the head of the music ministry there for a while, and I went back there after a few years, and just I love the fellowship and the camaraderie. There's choir is my extended family. They're my they talk a lot about small groups in churches. Well, that rather large choir at Grace Baptist Church is my small group. A lot of good people, and I've had great opportunities. as we were talking about earlier, I almost went to Carnegie Hall to sing.
Yeah, that's a good story there about that. Imagine, I almost went there. You know?
Almost went to Carnegie Hall. Our church choir at Grace Baptist did a cooperative gig with First Baptist Concord, and there are open dates at Carnegie Hall where they need somebody to come and sing, and it's apparently an amazing audience up there because it's not necessarily a Christian audience that goes and sees these things. These are season ticket holders at Carnegie Hall, and so they're just going at that particular night just to hear First Baptist Concord and Grace Baptist Church and Michael Tate from Newsboys and several other artists. I don't remember who all they had, but it was apparently a huge deal. And
well, it sounds like it.
And they actually got out on the streets and got to talk to people, and there were just all kinds of ministry opportunities that popped up. I mean, nothing planned. And a lot of it is just people on the street. And New York City's a big place.
Oh, it is.
And they
been there a few times.
Yeah, and they made a lot of good contacts, made some new friends, and so they had a blast. And I almost got to Carnegie Hall, almost, but not quite.
Well, we'll just mark that on the bucket list as an almost.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
one day.
yeah.
Well, speaking of all that, why don't you give us a little song this morning?
In thinking about trying to come up with something, there's a song that I always go back to. When life is sometimes when life is dragging me down big time, if I'll stop struggling and rest a little bit, and go back to the 90s when contemporary Christian praise and worship was just kind of starting out. There was one that was written, I think, by Jamie Harville called Ancient of Days. It's Jamie Harville and Gary Sadler, and that straight out of Scripture, and I can lay that down, and then everything just gets a little better. And if you don't know it, it goes something like this: blessing and honor, glory and power, be unto the Ancient of Days, from every nation, all of creation, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom will not pass away, O Ancient of Days. And that's most of it.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
That's a favorite.
That is great. I love that. I want to hear all that one day. I want to borrow your CD or whatever and listen to it. Speaking of CDs, let's talk about this. I know you don't have one right now, and that's something maybe in the future that you would like to do, correct?
Yeah. I had just done Amazing Grace at a funeral. I think it was my dad's uncle's funeral. It's been a lot of years ago now. And when we got finished and the service was over, there were about 25 people that asked me if I had a record, that I made a record. I'm like, no, I haven't. I sort of thought over the years, probably should have put something down, as much recording as I was doing for other people, running services and doing music and all this other stuff. I never really took the opportunity to lay anything down, but it's been sort of a bucket list goal to maybe just put a few tracks together, just so that I've got something if the opportunity ever comes up again, that you can say, yeah, I actually took the time to do a little something. So that's I'm not a professional by any means, but music, worship music especially, has always been an avocation. If I had my druthers, it would pay the bills.
Right.
But it just never has worked out that way. But as an avocation and as a I guess a life work, it's something that's been important, and it is especially in those dark times when it really needs to be important. And I finally decided that I'm going to pull back a little bit and get that and let that be the focus, because it they say that music soothes the savage breast, and there's a lot of well, with a car wreck, or an illness, or struggles with in your family, with family members going through things, and it's always been, sometimes I just got to stop, and I just got to let the music do the talking.
Exactly.
Because in those times when you're struggling, you don't feel like you can pray. Well, sing.
Right. Exactly. I agree with that. In my past, I always go back to music for anything. And when you said about the wreck, I actually laughed a little bit because after the wreck, I ended up going to the ER because I'd be checked out. I'm on blood thinners and to make sure I don't have internal bleeding, which I'm good. No broken bones, no internal bleeding. But the first thing I did when everything was settled down and I got, done talking with the insurances and stuff, I was given a gift not too long ago by Robert Oimby, and it's a guitar, and I'll have to show you one day. I picked it up, and I'm trying to learn to play something on it. And I sat there, and I was thinking and trying to play it the whole time. So that was what soothed me, Usually I'll pick up my guitar and, try to write a song, play it a little bit, or even just turn it on the radio. I mean, I'm no great singer, trust me that. And I'm not great at that, but, I try. I traveled with a gospel group for over 12 years called Soldiers of the Cross, and actually then teaching everybody in the group how to play an instrument before it was over with. But I agree with being able to use music as a actual, not just art, but a soothing thing, a medical reason. I think that a lot of times in the hospitals they should pipe in music into the rooms of the critically ill people. You don't have to even be like a Christian-based music. It can be any kind of soothing music for it, because I think that is a healing thing, the music. Right. Same as laughter's healing. Let's talk a little bit about your family now. Lisa will love me for this. No, I know you girls. They sing. They're very talented.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the roads that they're on right now.
Our two younger daughters are homeschooling. Our middle daughter Hannah's about ready to wrap it up, and she has not too much longer till she finishes up her senior year, and there's a lot of talk about different directions that that she could possibly go, and Hannah has turned out to be a very good guitar player.
Awesome.
Self-taught, the Yamaha guitar sat around for years, and nobody was doing much of anything with it. And one day she just got it out and said, it was kind of like, here we go. And she's writing a little bit, and she'll finish playing something. I'm like, well, wow, that was pretty good. I wrote it.
Wow.
Great. Cool.
Can I get it on the radio or something?
Yeah. And Abigail, our youngest, excellent piano player, plays the saxophone. One of the things that I always dreamed of when I was growing up, because I never took the time to learn how to play anything, is that one day I wanted my house to be full of music. Well, all three girls play piano. Caroline, our oldest, she's a theory student, and she's very well versed in the mechanics of music. She taught piano. And still plays. She's got a keyboard in her dorm room at Maryville College, and she gets out and plays that. She plays the piano when she's at home. We actually have two pianos, and there's one upstairs and one downstairs. And
so you got that house full of music.
And some days they're both going. And occasionally we'll hear the saxophone come out. There's a violin that we've all kind of taken turns making horrible sounds with, but I think somebody will probably pick that up someday. But all three of the girls are, they have my love for music.
That is awesome.
And it's expressed, it's shown itself in different ways through them as they've developed their own personalities and, figuring out what to do with their lives. They're all extremely talented, and we're very blessed. Their mother and I just kind of sit around and soak it up, because neither one of us play anything either. So. But it's been a real blessing to watch them grow and develop and blossom into beautiful young women with amazing talent.
That is awesome. Yeah, we had Caroline on In My Shoes before, and we're hoping to have her back soon. And I love all the girls. Your girls are very talented. I've met them several times. You know, they've always been there for me. They take care of Trouble and Jackson for me quite a bit. But we got just a little bit longer here on the show. Before we go out, let's hear another song, if you don't mind.
Okay. I had actually, I was with some people the other day, and I just started humming one. And I couldn't remember I didn't know where it came from. I was like, what is this? So I spent about the next 2 or 2.5 hours trying to dig that tune out of my head. And it turns out that it was an old Stephen Foster. You know, people are going, who's Stephen Foster? Well, Camptown Races, Oh, Susanna. It was an old Stephen Foster song. And his parlor music from like 1837.
Wow.
And, you know, it now we would take it as sort of an abolitionist anti-slavery thing. Hard times come again no more. So I'm humming the tune, and I can't remember the tune, and now I can't remember the words. I didn't think I would go blank, but here I am with the mic in my face, and I'm going blank. We're probably running out of time.
I never thought of Scott going blank or without words. While you're looking up the words real quick, let me just remind some people out there, thank you again for watching the show. We appreciate you tuning in on Mountain Fun Live. Please go down there, like, share, and if you're listening on the radio right now, thank you for listening, and please come back and listen to more. We've got a lot of local singers like Susan Rose. We got Jana Jennings, Dolly Parton, you know, she's a local girl. We got a lot of local talents. We got more local talents coming too. Also, if you are a local talent, please send us some of your music and let us get it on the radio if it matches our format. Also, we just won #1 again, so be watching our Facebook page and hearing those details. Now, do you get that?
Yeah, I got it.
All right,
I got
Scott,
it.
go ahead.
I finally pulled it up. And it's just a little simple tune. It says, let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sub sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. It's an old song that nobody's ever heard, hardly. And,
wow, that is good.
You know, and
I'm gonna look that up actually.
And that's me in music, because it just gets stuck in my head and I got to go find it. I don't make this stuff up. I've had to have heard it before.
I agree. Well, I'm glad Google's got a new thing. Like, you know, you say, "Hey Google," and you let it listen a little bit of the song, and it can tell you what the song is, and you can find it. I love that new app. All right, we're running out of time. It was a pleasure having you on the show, Scott.
Great to be here.
A couple things I want to touch real quick. Yeah, I do know you're looking for a job right now. You're out there in a job field. We have a job fair actually coming to the area, so check that out. Actually, we have a show from here on in the studio, which is called Down Home with Ashley. They was actually talking about the job fair.
Okay.
So catch Down Home with Ashley on our station here. Also, thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Tell your lovely family that God bless you, and we can have them on sometime. Thank you all for watching Entertainment in the Smokies with Rhonda. And I want to thank our sponsors, which is Grant's Guardians. Don't forget to go climb a mountain and find that rainbow behind a cloud. Bye.
Bye, everyone.